Welcome back, everyone, to another week of Accounting Conversations. Today, I am joined by none other than Tony Wilson, CPA, CMA. He is the owner of Accquip. Is that the way you say it? Okay.
That's exactly
He's
right.
the he's the owner of Accquip, a fractional CFO service specifically for software developers. Tony, you're doing amazing things in the accounting space. I'm so excited I was able to rope you into coming on the podcast with me.
Of course. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm so glad that you are doing these conversations. It's good.
We live in the greatest time of accounting history, right? And that's what we're trying to get out to all the accounting students. Do you want to give us a little introduction, maybe your accounting career journey, why you chose accounting, and then maybe tell the story of your inspiration to start your own fractional CFO service?
I would love to do that. I would love to do that. I'll keep it at a little bit of a high level, but I'll still take you guys through a little bit of my experience here. So, yeah, I've been in the accounting and finance space for about a decade, which seems crazy to say because I feel like just yesterday I graduated college. So, but yeah, been about a decade. And the funny thing is, a lot of people ask, how did you get into accounting, right? And I think a lot of times we put a lot of emphasis on making the right decision for that career. And I'll just be honest, like I was a high school student and my mom was like, Tony, I think you'd do great in accounting. I was like, cool. I know literally nothing about the world. So I'm going to trust your judgment on this. And I pursued accounting. And, it's interesting, especially if people listening to this are more, college students, maybe even high school students. Um, I'm a big proponent of sometimes just choose the thing, right? Just go after it. And what you'll find is that you eventually come to like be the thing that and you become secure in knowing that this is the right path. But you don't know that unless you start to make steps towards that direction. So big proponent of just go for it. That's what I did. So I did 4.5-ish years of undergrad. I was in accounting and finance double major, which I loved my finance classes. And if it wasn't for a very wise finance professor, I probably would be in finance to start my career off. But I had a finance professor who told me, you know what, Tony, you can always go from accounting to finance, but it is very hard to go from finance to accounting. So he said, start your career off in accounting, if possible, in public accounting. So I took that advice and I worked in a public accounting firm, Grant Thornton, GT all the way. So not big four, but definitely top 8. And I really did enjoy my experience. It was hard, as anybody will say in public accounting. But I think the thing that I still vividly remember is the amount of learning that takes place in audit, especially. I mean, tax, for sure you get that. Like you get it in just a different way. But in audit, you're like, it's coming at you from all different angles. And so, yeah, I spent just shy of 2 years there, made it to my promotion into senior associate. And then I was like, peace. Ain't nobody got time for this anymore. And I was very ready to be done. Not because I, disliked the people I worked with. In fact, I loved the people I worked with. And I loved, like I said, the learning was great, but it's like the nature of the work. It's not life-giving to me. I wanted to learn what I could, and I learned the things that I wanted to, and I was ready to go. And, I think looking back on it, I'm like, 2 years that's a pretty decent amount of time. Like, I think you learn a decent amount. Like, you could certainly learn more, but there actually comes a point where it's now detrimental to your ability to pivot into private if you're there for too long, which is very much a thing. Some people say, oh, if you're there 6, 7, 8 years, then that's when you start getting into that trouble. I think it's like, 2 to 4 years is probably the sweet spot to leave. Some people say, you should make manager before you leave. And I'm like, I don't know that I agree with that, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, so got done with that. and moved on. And I apologize. Is this too in depth for our
No,
podcast?
this is exactly how I want it. You're good to go.
Fantastic. Okay. But yes, while I was there, I should probably mention this too. I did my first busy season. I graduated December of 2013. 2013. Yeah. So a decade. Graduated December 2013 and started January 2nd of 2014.
Oh my gosh.
Cause I'm like, why not?
Like drinking out of a fire hose, huh?
Yes. Yeah, a lot of times it's a lot more common for your starting class in public accounting to be like the fall. They'll do like September, October timeframe, just so you can kind of orient yourself before you go right in for audit. So I did my first busy season, and then right after that, just sat for the CPA and just cranked them all out while working full time. Would not recommend. That is
Did not sleep, I'm assuming.
no. I mean, this is the benefit about being single, and like I mean, I had a dog at the time, but like that was about my only responsibilities. But yeah, I just like eat, live, sleep, breathe anything and everything. Becker, Peter Olinto, you know, what's the other guy's name? The other Tim Garrity. Yeah. Anyways, so did that by God's good grace, passed all of those in rapid succession. November, I was officially got all my things, and then I think by December I officially became a licensed CPA. December or January of 2014. So that happened, and that was great. Also, would recommend, if possible, get your CPA. Not because I necessarily use it day to day, but once you have it, it just opens up a lot of doors that you wouldn't expect. So CPA, 2 years, boom, done. Moved into another role with it's now a company that was absorbed by Korn Ferry. It used to be called Salo, but Salo it's located here in the Twin Cities, and they had a specialized program called the Compass program, and I think it actually still exists. It's just now under the Korn Ferry banner. And what it was is it's a salaried rotational program. So realistically, like you get the best of both worlds because they pay you salary, but they bill you hourly. And so the clients they put you on, they don't want to pay the time and a half for the hourly work. So they're like, no. Like, don't work more than 40 hours because that's going to be expensive unless they really, really need that help. But that's few and far between. So here you go from 60 hours, 65-hour work weeks, which I had at GT during busy season, to popping over to the Compass program. And I was working like 35, 40 hours. I'm like, I am living the life right now. And I loved it. It was great. Not only because there was less workload, but also because like finally I felt like I was making traction and like doing the things that I wanted to do. My first role, I was a senior financial reporting analyst for a publicly traded company here in the Twin Cities, a SaaS company. And I got to wear just a bunch of different hats. Got to do a little bit of internal audit here, got to do a little bit of financial reporting, general ledger close, all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun. Popped around to a couple different places in that program before I landed my manager job, my corporate accounting manager job with C.H. Robinson, which is another publicly traded company here in the Twin Cities. And funny enough, how it goes is I was coming up for needing to go to my next engagement, and I still remember I want to say it was Katie at the time, Katie Imholt, but now Katie Gabriel. She was one of the business development directors. She gives me a call. She's like, Tony, I've got a really exciting role. It's a senior accountant position at a large publicly traded company. And I'm like, good grief. This sounds so boring. No, thank you. But she convinced me, hey, just at least go for an interview. So I did, and I came, and I was delightfully surprised because what I found on the other side of the table were two very, very awesome guys that I'm like, okay, I could actually see myself working here. So pro tip for everybody listening, sometimes a position does not sound appealing at all, And then you're going to go for the interview and you realize, ooh, wow, this actually could be a lot better than I was expecting it to be. My boss, he eventually became my boss. His name's Jason Dahlem. Love the guy. We're still friends to this day. He was honestly the reason why I chose to take that contract and then convert it into a corporate accounting manager position, because, just like a super, super sweet man, and gave me the leeway that I needed to do the things I wanted to do. And was just a very supportive boss. So did that 2018, became a full-time employee with them, and then stayed with them until 2021. And again, I'm just like going really into the weeds. You gave me like a little prompt, and I'm just going with it. So here we're keeping on going. While there, got to do a lot of really fun things, and got to kind of pave my own trail. I was over a function called intercompany, which intercompany is like, I mean, people say accounting is boring. It's like intercompany accounting is like the boringest of the boring, or so it could be. But we zest it up, man. Even to this day, I still have this on my desk. This is a hat that I got my whole team, making intercompany great again. Just to give you a flavor of the type of manager that I was. Anyway, so got to do a lot of fun things with that. Also got to stand up something called Finance U, which was a internal brand for C.H. Robinson in their finance department, to help educate and upskill the workforce, the finance workforce, with also some bleed over impact into the rest of the organization to kind of collaborate on some things, finance 101 type of trainings and stuff. But yeah, loved my time there. I really, really love the people at C.H. Robinson. So when I left in 2021, it was not because I was upset with them, I was, had any gripes or anything like that. It was really, as the story goes, my wife and I got married in 2020 during the pandemic. We had our first daughter in May of 2021. Here I am on paternity leave, holding this little baby girl. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, girly, you're going to be able to do anything you set your mind to. As father, I'm like, I want you to be able to do anything you want to set your mind to. But I felt so hypocritical, because here I am telling her this. Meanwhile, in the back of my mind, this has been years in the making. I've wanted to start my own business, but I've been like, no, I got to get more experience. I got to have more exposure, blah, 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 blah. And here I'm holding my daughter and I'm like, if she can do anything she sets her mind to, like, I need to lead by example. Like, that's how this is going to have to work. And so really just felt like coming out of that paternity leave, like, I think now's the time. Now's the thing. Now's the time where I have to set up my business. And so I started making progress towards that, right? So I come back from paternity leave, tail end of May. By end of July 2021, I had left my corporate position, and August started my own thing. And here we are today. Fast forward a couple years.
Wow. Amazing journey. I know a little bit of what that feels like because I have a daughter. You have 3 daughters now, right?
I had 3, and we're expecting baby boy number 4 in July.
Oh my goodness. That is so exciting. So that's a question I have, right? And I think a lot of accounting majors nowadays have that question, is with the massive opportunities that there are in the accounting profession right now, when is the right time to jump to more of a entrepreneurial or even owning your own firm type of role? Because there's a lot of firms that don't do things the way that the big firms do anymore, right? But they're kind of few and far between, and it's hard to get there. When do you feel like someone has enough experience to try and make that jump? What things do you, I mean, I'm sure you use all the experience you gained in the corporate and public accounting world in your business now.
Yep.
But when do you feel like you could have made that jump? Could you have made that jump right after public accounting? What recommendations do you have for young professionals?
That's a really good question. I think, and I say this not only from my own experience, but then also observing other peers of mine, I think there is, I think it kind of depends on the types of companies that you worked for, right? So 5 years for one person is not going to be 5 years for another person. It really depends on like what kind of businesses did you work in, what were the roles that you were in, right? If you spent all 5 years doing internal audit for a large publicly traded company, you are probably really ill-equipped to start your own practice by year 5. Contrast, if you had 2 years public accounting experience, you had 2 years senior accountant, general ledger type experience, and then 1 year as manager, like that's actually probably perfect for somebody to then go and pivot and start their own thing. I think a big part is I would advise a broad experience. So have your hands in a lot of different things before you venture out. Because like, even right now, I'm in the process of well, without going into too much detail, one of the things we're considering is like how best to structure like our month end close for our firm as we continue to grow and expand and add more clients. And a lot of my being able to shape that and help form that is derived from my experience running close cycles in a larger company. So I see how the big boys do it. I can take that and I can like contextualize it for a small company. And so yeah, all that to say, maybe call it 5 years of experience, but 5 years of varied experience would be my recommendation. And probably, I wouldn't spend less than a year in your position. I probably would spend about 2 to 3 years in each position before you move on to the next one. Ideally, you'd have some exposure to practicing your management skills, especially that first year, to know how best to not be micromanagerial, but still being supportive. I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes, and I learned a lot in that first 2 years as a manager, and that then translates very well when you then start to hire people in your own business.
I love that. Kind of backtracking a little bit. So they don't talk about CAS practices or fractional CFO firms in school. So what is a fractional CFO accounting firm or service, and how do you help your clients? Where is the place where you add the most value to your clients?
It's a great question. Yeah, and it's a travesty that we don't talk about this more. We talk about public accounting, we talk about working in corporate America a little bit, but we don't have this third category of like owning your own practice and doing CAS. So client accounting services or fractional CFO. So really quick background for you is I actually was vehemently opposed to the title fractional CFO initially,
Hmm.
right? Because like I know what goes into working at large companies. I know what CFOs do, and I'm like, I ain't doing that, right? Like I'm not going on road shows and talking with investors. I'm not giving public facing commentary on the performance of our business. I'm not strategizing with banks on how to secure financing, and I don't have to deal with foreign currency trades. These are the things that like I would say like real CFOs do. The reason why I changed my tune on this is because as I was providing service, I have discrete service offerings. As I was providing those discrete service offerings to the people who are paying me money, I talked with them and they said, well, Tony, we call you our fractional CFO. I was like, well, shoot, if you are going to pay me money and you call me a fractional CFO, I guess I'm a fractional CFO then. Because realistically, like pulling back the layers, really what I am or what we are doing is true managerial accounting, right? This is what accountants should have always been. But what has happened in the marketplace is because there is so little education on what an accountant is, you just get boxed into you're a tax accountant. To be an accountant is to do tax. And that's the
Yeah.
only paradigm people have to think. If you're a CPA or if you're an accountant, you do tax. There's not this like understanding that, oh, no. Accountants can be a critical component to helping me shape my strategy and my management of my business, right? So there's this category in larger companies called management accounting or managerial accounting. In college, it just gets boiled down to, oh, you work in the manufacturing space, which I don't. So for, I would say, more savvy accounting types, I'm actually a management accountant, but because of just the education that still needs to happen in this market, we call it a fractional CFO. So we're doing things like budgeting. We're doing things like cash flow forecasting and forecasting your P&L. We're doing things like, hey, we're going to look back on what has already happened and then make conclusions about what things we should do differently going forward. So client profitability is a big piece of that. I'd put that probably more so into the accounting type of work that we do. But yeah, client accounting services is a kind of a monthly engagement where we're keeping their books up to date. We might add in a couple other pieces, like sometimes people need help with payroll, or they might need help with billing and collections from their customers. And so we can add in, plug and play a couple other service offerings, but the client accounting services core is really that bookkeeping accounting stuff.
Well, and that's what's amazing about having a foundation in accounting, right? And then being able to build forecasts and bring financial insights to your clients. It all starts with the basic accounting, and then everything else builds off of that, which I find so beautiful. Um, so just two last questions for you here. One, so I saw that you did a lot of bookkeeping in your college days, or maybe it was right around before college.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you recommend that students learn how to do bookkeeping, and then you offer a DIY bookkeeping course? Would that be something good that students could take or do that would help them maybe better understand bookkeeping? Because
Mm-hmm.
from my experience, that's something that's completely left out of school. I mean, spent maybe a week or two in a beginning financial accounting class going over a general ledger. And then from there, I mean, haven't touched it since.
Yeah. I mean, two really, really good questions. So I'll address the first one. Yes, I did work. I actually completely glossed over this because I'm thinking, oh, after I graduated, what did I do? Yeah, before graduation, funny enough, my job progression was I worked. I think my first job was a coffee shop. My second job was a at a what do you call it? Theater, movie theater, which great job as a high school student. Would recommend. Free popcorn, free movies. Yes, please. Let's go. Anyway, and then after that, I did a stint in back office bookkeeping for a bowling alley. And then because of that, and because I had my LinkedIn profile up to date, which all you people, especially you college students, get your LinkedIn profile up to date. Like, you don't know the opportunities you are going to encounter with that. Anyway, my experience was I was doing that work for a couple months. I got tapped on the shoulder by Robert Half, account temps, be like, hey, we noticed you're a bookkeeper. You got bookkeeping experience. Would you be interested in, coming in and seeing if we got some bookkeeping roles for you? I was like, great, sure, let's do it. So did a few stints with them in bookkeeping, again, all while I'm going to college. Because, I mean, the best kept secret for all of you college students, the best kept secret is account temps. I don't know why more college students, more accounting college students, don't avail themselves of account temps. Because, like, I had like the most flexible schedule with them. I just said, hey, I'm scheduling my college classes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I do like a once a week nighttime class because why not? And then it opened up my schedule. So I had an entire Tuesday or an entire Thursday. And I could be like, here's my availability. I've got, a full day on this day, or I have a half day on this day. And it worked out great. I was working 15, 20 hours a week, making decent money. I mean, I was making like $20 an hour. And this was back, over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm personally of the mindset that, like, no offense to internships, but if you really want to get exposure, if you really want like something that looks good on your resume, like actually go and work for a place. What people don't realize, and I can say this now as being a hiring manager on the flip side, is internships are more about a recruiting tool and less about an experience mechanism. Like,
Hmm.
you don't really learn that much. Like, if you learn a ton in your internship, that is the exception to the rule. Most internships are meant to recruit you to come work for that company. That's it. So would recommend, if you can, work for a place like Account Temps. They'll set you up with good positions. And then your second question was about the course. So I created that course first and foremost for freelancers so that they could do their own books. Um, and so it's very oriented. I would say it's very non-technical. So we don't even talk debits and credits. We don't even use those words.
Huh.
And we just boil it down to the basics of like, hey, the one of the premise that I give in accounting is, if you still think accounting is math, you are not correct. Accounting is financial storytelling. So it's all about crafting a story. And so then we dive further and we say, okay, well, if we're storytelling, we should ask ourselves the question, who are we telling the story to? And what are the stories that we are writing? And then we talk a little bit more about those things. So all that to say, I think a lot of the fundamentals, the basics in that bookkeeping course won't do much, except we do walk through the Wave platform. So it's a great way for you guys to like practice a free platform. Wave is totally free for people. You can go in there and just get some hands-on experience, just like categorizing transactions. And I'll be honest, when you're talking small business, like, it's not that much more complicated. If you're doing cash basis books, you're in the clear. It's pretty much just like whatever is coming through the bank feed, just categorize those guys and you're good to go.
I love that. I love that. You're bringing so much value to not only your clients but the whole accounting profession, which I love so much. If I can ask you just one more thing before you run, um, where is the accounting profession going, and
Hmm.
why are you so excited about it? You
Hmm.
know, we see a lot of doom and gloom articles. There was a Wall Street Journal article earlier this year about how less and less students are choosing accounting. Hours and wages haven't changed in a long time. Why is it exciting to be a part of the accounting profession right now,
Hmm.
and why are you excited about the future of it?
Hmm. I love that question. And it's such a positive way of framing the question. I love it. Um, you know, I would say, and this is just from my own experience, again, having been here now for a decade, you start off with the first couple years and you're like, oh, everybody knows accounting. Like, everybody can do this stuff. And then you get 5, 6, 7, 10 years down your career, I'm sure even further down, and you realize, oh, there's like nobody here. And it's only becoming increasingly that, right? Like, your generation coming through, you guys are going to get to where I'm at in my career and be like, oh, there's really nobody here. Um, and so like, I've just from a job security standpoint, like, it's totally the case that accounting is literally the last thing to get cut. And we've been through recessions, right? Like, I mean, it wasn't officially a recession, but everybody definitely felt it when big tech was laying off and all this kind of stuff. For the most part, accounting is one of the most secure places you can be working for another company. And so I think the job security piece is pretty big. And like, yeah, there's speculation like, oh, AI is going to automate all our work, then we have nothing to do. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, there still is the need for advisory, right? There still is the need for connecting with people, building a relationship. I will tell you this right now. Like, I'm working with a company at the moment to help develop some AI solutions, to do the accounting, and it had been very difficult for them to find somebody who is the right fit to help inform AI because, again, there's not a lot of well qualified people to do this. So I'd even say, back to the people who say, "Oh, doom and gloom because of AI," you know, the world is your oyster a little bit. You can come in and really be the expert to help train these AI models, and that's really what we need right now. Is we need that transference of practical knowledge of like, yes, I've been there, I've done that, I know the problems that you're going to face, and helping technology to navigate that stuff and check it. Because I'll say this right now, you know, somebody can go to ChatGPT and ask it a question, but who are they going to come to make sure that that's actually legit? They're not going to Google it. They might Google it to kind of just gut check it. They're going to come to their CPA friends. They're going to come to their accounting friends, and they're going to say, okay, I read this on ChatGPT. What is it not telling me? Right? Because there still is that need for the professional, somebody with experience to bolster the AI. That's why I feel good about it.
It's so exciting. I'm super pumped to be a part of it. Couldn't be happier to be entering the profession right now. Well, Tony, thank you so much for what you're doing for the accounting space, for your great example, and for all the insights you share from your business and from your experiences. And thanks for hopping on with me today to share a little bit of your journey with accounting students right now. So
My pleasure.
thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Um, where can people find you? Is it best to find you on LinkedIn and on your website, or where else are you?
Yes. Yep. I'd say LinkedIn for sure. I am pivoting my approach ever so slightly. I had been posting 5 days a week. I'm posting less than that now. I am working towards increasing my presence on YouTube as well, so people can also
Okay.
go to find me on our channel right now is Accquip. Some fun things in the works in the future that might be in a little different place. But I'd say for the most part, come to me on LinkedIn. I love connecting, especially if you're an accounting student. You're listening to this, hit me up. I mean, we had a great conversation, so
Yes,
I
we
love
did.
I love talking about this kind of stuff. So hit me up.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tony, and have a great day.